Our drafts are just about a month away, if not sooner. So it's Wednesday. We're getting close to draft season. Let's do a mock. So we're over here on Sleeper. Today we're going to be doing a 12-team league. I have no idea where I'm going to start the draft at, but what I've heard from you guys in the comments is that you want to see some multiple flex leagues. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go with a 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, 2 flex format. We have a couple bench spots to round it out, but that's not why we're here. It has us at the 9th pick. Let's do it. I'm fine with the 9th overall pick. It's actually one of my, I guess I'm higher on the 9th pick than a lot of people, even though it kind of seems in the middle of nowhere. But McCaffrey at the 101, 6 straight wide receivers, and Bijan goes at the 108. So that puts me in a situation where I think my selection is Breece Hall for the simple fact that, look, last year he was the running back 2 on the worst offense in football. If he can make Zach Wilson look like a subpar quarterback, imagine what he could do with a Hall of Famer and Aaron Rodgers. This guy, Breece Hall, is going to be the center point of this offense. If I can summarize it in in a couple words, on the ground, through the air, he's going to be the focal point, is what I'm getting at here. So I love the upside, but he also gives us some stability as well at the 109, and he is my running back 2 on my board. After that, Puka, Garrett Wilson, Jahmyr Gibbs round out the first round. Marvin Harrison, Jonathan Taylor, and Kyren Williams, of course, open up the second. So that puts me in an interesting spot here at the 109. Do I want to go the receiver route? Go with a guy like Chris Olave or Devontae Adams, who I've been getting higher on in Devontae. Might be because of that documentary a few weeks back. Regardless, I think I will go with Saquon Barkley. In this scenario, I have 2 top 5 running backs. And if you follow the channel, I praise and I typically preach to try and balance out your roster as early as you can because it gives you flexibility later on. But in this scenario, I can't pass up on the value of 2 top 5 backs on my board. But after that selection, we have a plethora of wide receivers and running backs, 2 tight ends, of course, 1 quarterback, which was expected in the second and early third round. But we're back on the clock here. Mr. Reliable, Mike Evans is on the board. I think that's the selection. It seemingly doesn't matter who his quarterback is, whether if it's me, you, or of course the guy down the street. Mike Evans is going to get 1,000 yards on the season. And I do worry a little bit about the departure of Dave Canales. Of course, no longer the offensive coordinator, but with guys like DJ Moore off the board, I'm going to go Mike Evans. I'll go Mike Evans, and I'll come back around hoping that either Lamar falls to us, which he will, or Cooper Kupp. But Cooper Kupp doesn't fall into our laps. So now I'm in a situation where I can go Lamar Jackson and hope that a guy like, let's say, Mark Andrews falls back to us, something that we could look out for. Or we can go with Trey McBride and hope that Kyler Murray falls to us later down the board. You know what? Let's get interesting. I've taken Lamar in a couple mock drafts here on the channel already. Let's go Trey McBride, and then we'll come back around in the 5th or the 6th round and hope that we can get a guy like Kyler Murray. I don't know what it is. I like to have stacks on my team, so it just gives me a little bit higher upside, I think, going after a guy like, of course, Kyler Murray down the board. And I mean, hey, Mark Andrews wouldn't even have fell to us as he goes there at the 505. But we're back on the clock. Anthony Richardson is my highest rated quarterback if we want to go that route. But at the receiver position, let's do our due diligence. Guys like Jordan Addison are on the board. T. Higgins, Amari Cooper is my highest rated receiver left on the board. But let's, take a look at the running backs as well. Aaron Jones, James Conner, big fan of those guys this season. But I think we're okay at the running back position, even though that this is a multiple flex league. So with that in mind, I think in the 6th round, we're going to go after Kyler Murray because we only have to worry about team number 12 at this point in time. So team number 12 is the only team that could potentially take a quarterback. So Amari Cooper is the number 1 wide receiver there in Cleveland. I understand that the connection was not great there between him and Deshaun Watson, or at least it wasn't consistent on a weekly basis. But if we look at our roster, we needed a wide receiver. And if if Deshaun Watson can return to 50% of what he was in Houston, Amari Cooper is going to be a top 20 wide receiver. No doubt about it in my eyes. And if I can have two top 15, 20 level wide receivers on my team with this star studded running back group, I love that start for the team. Now we're in a position where we could go our quarterback around early if we just want to say, let's just make sure we can secure this stack because there's no guarantee that it comes back with multiple teams needing a quarterback. I think it's a little overzealous. So I'm going to play the ADP game and hope that a guy like Kyler Murray returns. Let's see. There's a bunch of teams that need a quarterback, but will they go with the quarterback? Something to look out for. But you know what? I'm gonna play the ADP game, and if all comes crashing down, we'll go a different route. So, David Montgomery, my highest rated running back left on my board. Excuse me, that is actually Ramondre Stevenson. So that's someone interesting to look out for. But if we want to go a different route, we could go Jordan Addison, Christian Kirk. I love Christian Kirk. I think he's going to be the number one targeted receiver in that offense this season. But let's go out there. Let's go after Ramondre. Let's shoot for the stars. Let's pour into this hype train. This is a guy that, last year we went into it saying, okay, it's a contract year. Players play their best in those situations. Maybe this is when Ramondre can be an elite running back. But last year he burned a lot of us, of course, in our drafts and even the year prior to that. But Ramondre this year just got extended. So this offense with the new coordinators and head coaching staff, they want to use him and they rave about him. And there's not really any competition for him. So he might be the most targeted guy in this offense, as crazy as that might sound. And to have three running backs that can do it both in the receiving and the rushing game, I think that's elite for our team going forward as far as stability and upside, which is what I like to preach here in fantasy football. But Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, you can look at that and just say it's an okay wide receiver room, but at least we know what we're getting on a weekly basis from the both of those guys. But we're back on the clock. We said we were going to wait and try and do it, but if you look at the board, and of course this is playing the ADP game as well, but teams 10, 11, and 12 all have a quarterback. So you would think Kyler Murray doesn't go at this spot. So that gives us the opportunity to take a wide receiver or a running back. And Ladd McConkey jumps off the board to me. So does DeAndre Hopkins, just because it is DeAndre Hopkins. But I want to, go after strictly the upside of a guy like Ladd McConkey. I think it would be fun. He seems to be the number one guy in this offense, and we're really not going to have an opportunity to grab him in the ninth round because I can't see him being there. Now, if I weren't to go with Ladd McConkey, Najee Harris would actually be the selection because I really want to see how these running backs operate in that Arthur Smith offense. But I'm going to go Ladd, going for the upside, shooting for the stars, giving this wide receiver room on my team a little bit of youth, right? But again, we'll go Ladd McConkey, come back around, get our stack in Kyler Murray and Trey McBride. So if we take a quick look at how the roster looks at this point in time, Kyler Murray at the quarterback position. At the running backs, we have Breece Hall, Saquon, and Ramondre Stevenson, three workhorse running backs. We have Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, and Ladd McConkey. So that wraps it up as far as the bulk of this team. So what I want to do here to wrap out this draft for you guys, what I like to do in every draft, I want to give you guys just some sleepers to look out for. Now, if I were drafting in real life, I'd probably go with, TJ Hawkinson and let's say come back around with Tua Tagovailoa. Or of course, Jaylen Warren definitely has an argument in that race, right? As guys that we can target. But let me give you guys some sleepers. Let me think about it really quick and I'll come back with some sleepers for you guys. All right, I did some careful considerations, but to round out this team, let's say we're a little bit weak in the wide receiver room. Let's go for some more upside. Now, again, if you're in a 16-round league, draft this guy in the 16th round. But let's go after Roman Wilson. I think, again, he's a tremendous separator, great route runner, and he's going into a situation where George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth are going to have all the eyes on them. And now, again, it is an Arthur Smith offense. We've had a lot of frustrations with wide receivers under his scheme. However, Roman Wilson, if there were to be a wide receiver to break out from this rookie class that we weren't expecting, it would be Roman Wilson in this Pittsburgh offense. And now that they have a capable quarterback, unlike Kenny Pickett, in a guy like Russell Wilson, they might look to air it out a little bit more in Arthur Smith's scheme. And if that is the case, again, I think Roman Wilson could be a phenomenal pick there late in your drafts, like round 16 or 17. Outside of that, let me give you a tight end sleeper in Jatavion Sanders. Right now, he's not even being drafted. Of course, he's out of Texas. Hook 'em horns for you Texas fans. But he's going now, or of course, he got drafted to the Carolina Panthers. And if you weren't, of course, in the know-how, this is a guy that had competition with Hayden Hurst going into the next season. But Hayden Hurst has a health condition. He's not going to play football next year. So Jatavion Sanders being drafted in the second and third round. They invested a lot into him with that draft pick. He's coming in as the day one starter, at least in my eyes. And if Bryce Young needs a safety blanket, it's going to be Jatavion Sanders. And if you aren't familiar with this game, think of a David Njoku, just an uber athletic tight end that if you give him the ball in space, he can make magic happen. But that's going to do it. Of course, I'll be back from vacation next week, and we'll have some live and some fresh content for you guys here on the channel. But that's going to do it here. Of course, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. I'll see you guys next week. But until then, stay happy, stay healthy, get out of here.